Hello, what's up, everyone? So, today we are going to be covering a very fun opening. It's called the Stafford Gambit. Now, this is a very deadly opening that you can play as black, especially in blitz games. And I would actually say it's a really fun opening that has lots of traps that you can play against white. It can seem really beneficial in blitz games as well. This opening has a lot of variation, ton of traps as well. So if you do want to understand all the variations in depth, I would suggest you to check out Eric Rosen. He plays this opening day in, day out, and he's covered almost all of the variations out there regarding the Stafford Gambit, which is actually his favorite opening as well. So anyways, let's get to the opening. So we have e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6. So it's the Petros defense, and after knight captures pawn, you play knight c6. Now this is the classical Stafford Gambit. Now let's look at some of the variations and some of the traps that black can play. So obviously, for a person who is new to this opening, he would see that he just got a free pawn, and now black is just offering an exchange. So obviously he would definitely go for it, and he would capture the knight. So now after d into c6, you can see that okay, white is a pawn up, and now all white needs to do is just solidify the center and just play it safe, right? So a very natural move would be d3. Now over here you play bishop c5. Now let's look at some of the variations and just think how white would actually play, considering it's a blitz game or rapid game or any other game where white does not know this opening. So now white would be thinking, okay, black's played bishop c5. Okay, that's fine. And if white plays knight c3, then you can just play knight g4, where there is a double attack on this f2 pawn, and white would have to give up that pawn by playing bishop e3. And after knight captures, pawn captures, bishop captures, you can see that black has got his pawn back, and overall the situation favors black because white's king side does not look good at all, and there are tons of threats out there, queen coming over to h4 and all sorts of traps out there. So overall, black just got his pawn back, and in a way it looks really good for black. So, and that is if he plays knight c3. Now there would be players who would be thinking, okay, black just played bishop c5, and obviously they must have seen this knight g4 threat coming over attacking this f2. So they would be thinking, okay, let's not allow black to play knight g4, and they would come up with the move bishop g5. Now this is a very natural move that white can play because now white has just developed his bishop, and that bishop is spinning the knight as well. That looks good for white, and also white is also threatening e5 next move. It seems to be a very, very strong move as well, but this is fatal for white, and this is one of the deadly traps that I've been talking about as well, because once white plays bishop g5, then it is game over for white because now black has knight into e4. Yep, black is sacrificing his queen because once white captures the queen, it is checkmate. A beautiful checkmate. So that is what happens if white captures the queen. So obviously after knight captures pawn, what can white do? Okay, now what if white just captures the knight? Even then it is game over because we have bishop into f2 check, and the king cannot capture that bishop because if you notice, white's queen would be hanging and black would just play queen into d1. So white is forced not to capture that bishop and would have to play king e2, and then you just play bishop g4, and now the white's king is forced to capture that black bishop, and then you just got yourself a queen. So that's what happens if you capture the knight. So now what other option does white have? So over here, one of the moves is bishop e3, but even then it does not look good for white because now we have bishop into e3 and white is forced to recapture the bishop, and now we have queen h4 check. which is so deadly. And obviously the king cannot move over to e2 because then we have queen f2, which is a checkmate. So of course white is forced to play g3, and now it does not look good for white, and black has so many options. Knight captures the pawn. If pawn captures, then obviously this rook is hanging as well, so that's not possible. So rook would have to go out to g1, and then we have a discovered check with knight e4 and probably rook g3, and you can capture the pawn. And in order for white to remain in this game, he would have to give up material, else there is a quick checkmate that is coming. So you can see there are tons of traps out there for black, so white needs to be really careful. And for a player who's not aware of the Stafford Gambit, you might as well say it's game over for them, because this is such a deadly opening for black, especially in blitz games. Okay, so now over here, instead of d3, what other common move can white play? The move knight c3 comes to mind, obviously. So you just keep playing bishop c5, and bishop c4 is a very tempting normal move as well. White is developing the bishop and white is just getting ready to castle, and you just play knight g4. Obviously white is now forced to castle because there is a double attack on this pawn, right? So after castling, then we have queen h4, and now it does not look good at all, because now there's a triple attack on this pawn, and the black is also threatening mate on h2 as well. So a very common move would be h3, and then it is game over, because after knight into f2 and rook captures, we have a material advantage for black. Now in case white gets too greedy and doesn't capture the knight with the rook, instead he plays his queen over to f3, then it's game over, because now you have knight into h3 check, which is a double check because of the knight and the bishop. So after king moves over to h1, then there's a quick mate, which is a pretty cool mate, which I'll show to you. We have a knight f2 check, again a double check, so king is forced to move over to g1 and then checkmate. That's it, game over. So these are some of the lines. Now another line that white might play, which is also very possible, is playing e5 instead. So now over here what you do is you play knight e4. Now once black plays knight e4, what would be white's mentality? Now white is thinking, okay, there's a black knight that has just advanced the board, so the first thing that comes to mind is to get rid of it, and obviously the move that comes to mind would be d3. But if white plays d3, it's game over, because you just play bishop c5, and if white captures the knight, it's the same threat that I showed you before, and white loses the queen. So you can see that all these traps in a way look similar as well, and it's the same concept altogether. So that's what happens over here. And now over here, once again, if white decides to just play bishop e3, then you got the same thing all over again, which is bishop into e3, we have f into e3, then we have queen h4 check, and it's altogether the same thing again. So you can see there are so many traps out there for black, and it doesn't look good for white. Now let me be clear, if white does play his opening perfectly, then this would favor white, because white has a pawn up as well, and it would favor white. But then the chances are really low, especially in blitz games, if you're playing against a non-rated player or even a 1500 rated player, because there are many rated players who wouldn't be aware of this opening as well. So it seems to be a very fun opening as well, because even if black is a pawn down, the intention for black is to play with tempo and bring all his pieces into action and attack the king. So the idea over here would be for black to castle queenside and then just go all out attack on the white king. I hope you all enjoyed this opening. Let me know in the comments if you want me to cover any other openings as well. I'll definitely check them out and create more videos for you. Also, please do like and subscribe to my channel. And as we all know, we have the Tata Steel chess tournament, which is happening right now. I will definitely make a video on that and cover some of the great moments that happened in the tournament. Anyways, cheers. Thank you.